Hi, Dr. Dawn Marie here. Welcome to the first video in a new series, a new marriage series I'm doing entitled Great Expectations. And the reason that I'm doing this series on expectations in marriage is that expectations can unravel the fabric of a marriage. Whether the expectations are unspoken, unrealistic, or misplaced, a couple that anticipated experiencing pleasure and joy and satisfaction can find themselves experiencing dissatisfaction, displeasure, even resentment. But that doesn't have to be the case, because if expectations are managed appropriately, they can actually enhance a marriage rather than corrode it. So today I'd like to share with you one of the skills that I teach couples in my counseling and in the workshops that I do to deal with unspoken expectations. And I'm going to use it in the context of the things that are required to run a household. But you can apply it to many other areas of marriage. We're just going to use this particular area of what it takes to run a household as a framework for me to show you how this skill works. And I call this skill the marriage bowl. And what it is that you're going to sit down with your spouse and make a list of everything that is required to run your household. So the list may include laundry, cleaning the bathrooms, mowing the lawn, taking out the trash, just all those things that you need to do day to day or week to week to keep your household running effectively. Once you have made that list with your spouse, you're going to then take each item on the list and you're going to put each item onto its own little piece of paper. Or rather than having to write the list over, just cut them out of the list that you made or tear them into strips from that list you've already made so that you have them on separate pieces of paper, and then put them into a bowl, hence the marriage bowl. Once you've put them in this bowl, you're now going to one by one pull the items out of the bowl and opt in for the ones that you are willing to do. So let's say you pull out mow the lawn. One person says, oh, I'll do that one. That goes onto their pile. And then the next one that comes out is clean the bathrooms. And the other spouse says, I'll do that one. That goes onto their pile. You keep going that way till you have exhausted all of the items in the bowl. If you come to items that no one is opting to do, just put those aside so that you do not stop the momentum of the process. This is not the time to say, you should do that one. Why are you not choosing that one? Don't go there, because then you will stop the momentum. The communication will likely break down. So that's not the direction that you necessarily want to go. Put those ones aside. Once you have opted in on the ones that you're opting in on and the bowl is empty, you now go back to that third pile of the ones that no one has selected, and you look and you consider a few things. The first thing is, can this be broken down into smaller pieces? So for example, let's say you have laundry on the list as an item. Well, laundry could be broken down into washing and drying, folding and putting away, ironing and hanging up. So right there you have three categories instead of one big category of laundry. Once you break it into smaller bite-sized pieces, now you may find that your spouse says, oh yeah, okay, I'll do the wash and drying. And then you might say, well great, I'll do the other two. They fold and put away, and they iron and hang up. And right there you've taken care of laundry by breaking it into smaller categories. Another thing you may want to consider is that the list is not necessarily meant to be equal. Husband and wife don't have to have the same amount of items on their list. For example, if one person works more hours outside of the home than the other person, or is the main breadwinner and is therefore working whether from home, from a home-based business, or outside of the home, that person may not have as many of the household chores on their list. That's okay, because that would not necessarily be reasonable. So the amount of hours that each spouse has to dedicate to household chores may be different. So you want to take that into account when the items are being selected and you're looking at what has been left over. The third thing you want to consider is, can we outsource some of the things on this leftover list? For example, let's say that mowing the lawn was in the leftover list. You might decide, you know what, we have enough in our budget that we can hire someone to mow the lawn, because neither of us really want to mow the lawn and neither of us has to mow the lawn. This is something that someone else can do. And you know, the outsourcing also applies to your children. That if your children are old enough, there's some things on the list that may be able to be given to them to do that are their responsibilities, whether they're old enough to be doing their own laundry, or maybe they're not old enough to do their entire laundry, but they're old enough to sort their laundry into different colors, or they're old enough to make their own beds, or to help wipe down their sink to keep their bathroom clean. So you may decide, you know what, some of these things on the list our children can handle. And so you give your children those items to do. I want to encourage you that when you do these lists, this is not the time to tell each other what to do. You need to do this one. You should be doing this one. You're opting in for yourself. And the last thing I'll share with you is this, that as you are doing this, if you find that your communication is unraveling, that you're not able to go through this and have a meaningful conversation or opt in or negotiate who is doing which item, then you may want to consider enhancing your communication skills as a couple. Maybe you may want to find a counselor who can help you build that skill of communication and negotiation, because that impacts every area of marriage. And if you have help in that important area, then something like this becomes so much easier because you have the skills of communication to undergird and facilitate it. I hope this helped you today in dealing with any unspoken expectations that may be in your marriage, that you can get them on the table and discussed in a way that the expectations are no longer unspoken and no longer unmet. God bless you. Bye-bye.